Okay, so rule number two is the video will cut because I really want to do this one properly because I think it's really this next one is really just changed how I view life. So and that is so I want to get it right. So it is youth is not the epitome of life. So when I got to uni, in sort of age 19, I really thought that it was kind of after 21 that was kind of it for as far as life got, because that's something that people always tell you. They're like, I enjoy your 20s, man, enjoy your 20s, man, because it's rough. When you get older, you can't enjoy yourself like you did in your 20s. That's the thing that people always say, and I really took that to heart, and I really I was really worried about just having as much fun as I could. But I see things from a slightly wider perspective now. Um, Now, I think the big thing with this is that is partly true. If you fuck up your life, um, then yes, youth is the epitome of your life. And by youth, I mean kind of from 16 to 25, within that range, maybe 18 to 21, that kind of block where you start drinking, you start partying, um, sleeping with people, having sort of your first proper relationships, that kind of period. Like, yeah, if you're a real idiot and you really fuck things up, then yeah, you will look back on your youth as just an ecstasy to what your life is now. Um, because people say to me, "Oh, like, you get to a certain age and you can't go out anymore." It's like that's absolutely not true. No, I mean I've met people in their 50s, and they will still go out on a everyone meets people like this. They will still go out on a Friday night. They'll still drink like a fish. They might not be going to the student bar to do it, but the the general that's more out of personal preference, than anything else. I'm sure they would if they felt like it. Um, and that's a wretched existence at that point. Um, and they'll look back on how things were because they've been doing it. Because ultimately, that's not everything that life's about. Now, when you're young, when you're kind of 18, 21, there's a time when you're going to have most of that sort of party lifestyle. It is going to feel a lot more like that is the meaning of life. Um, and if we lived in a world where that was just the meaning of life, like pure hedonistic pleasure, then like like I would be telling you, enjoy your youth because it's pretty rough after that because you're not getting the same kind of ability to live that lifestyle. And but these people who are sort of 50 years old and still drinking, and there's a testament to the fact that it's not enough. um because when you take a step outside that, you think, I mean, there's just so much more in life that brings you fulfillment. So, and this is something that I've realized recently. I mean, there's a YouTuber called First Man who does a lot about this, and he says that the male life starts at 30, which is for most people probably quite an extreme way to look at it. But I think it's certainly true that for men, You know, I mean, I'll talk about women as well, but for men, it's, you know, that sort of party lifestyle. It's not as, you know, you do it a bit, sure, but the real fun comes from conquest. In whatever map you decide to play that out, where that's um, in your fitness, your physical fitness, where that's in a business, whether it's in a career, whether it's in, you know, you got some projects, you wanna um, release a really good album of music. That's where the real fun begins, and you know, but at you know, you can start as early as you like, really, but at 21, you know, most people are barely getting started with it. So in a sense, um, yeah, just rethink, you know, the modes in which you perceive your life as going, um, and you know, for women, it's slightly different because I think um, that sort of periods where you know, around 21, you know, 18 to 25, you know, women are pretty um, you know, if you're a beautiful woman and you're around that age, like, people will want to hang out with you. People will want to uh, you know, you'll have a fun time basically because people want to hang out with you. Um, and that obviously changes slightly as and you know, you hit 25, your look starts to fade. Meanwhile, for men, you know, you can be 30 and you're still really attractive. In fact, you're more attractive than you were when you were 21 because um, you've had more of a chance to build up your physique. Um, you know, you're not as sort of squeaky clean as you might have been when you were in your youth, but you know, maybe you got some sort of wrinkles. Maybe your hair's gone. You know, maybe you've gone bald. Um, you know, I mean, there's a certain beauty in both men and women that does fade as you get older. But the kind of beauty that women are looking for is very different. I mean, I think it helps to be, you know, it's definitely very important to have a good looking face. You know, I mean, that's a big thing on the internet. On with people like First Man, you know, about you know, you can build up a jawline and stuff like that, and you know, like go for it. But I don't know. It's just different as a guy, and like you know, it's things like your confidence and your body, your muscular physique, and your sort of life experience. Those things only increase with age, in most cases. So in a sense, youth is like nothing compared to what your future could be if you play your cards right. Um, but but at the same time, even if you're a woman, like, yeah, you have that period of your youth where you're fucking about, drinking, and that's like really fun. You know, like going out, everyone wants to fuck you. You get invited to, you know, all these cool places. Maybe you're going out with guys who are slightly older, got a bit of money and everything. You know, this is the whole First Man idea, but even then, like, if you just fuck around and um, just have lots of one night stands, once you hit past 25, then you're not going to be able to do it as much as you used to because you're just not as good looking. Meanwhile, if you, I mean, this is a bit sort of socially conservative maybe, but I really think it's. I think most people agree with this. To be honest, if you find one relationship, one person that you really like, settle down with them, get married, have a family, and it's a whole new, just a whole new universe of purpose, and it's just a complete different life. Complete different things are important that just aren't in. You can't do all the fun things you do when you're younger, but being a parent is one of the great ventures of life. If it's it's very difficult, and I'm not saying I'm really at liberty to give advice about it or cast any assertions about it, but that seems to be what most people say, and it's true for men as well. So yeah, I mean, I feel like I've done a botched job explaining this because there's just so much to get into with it. But I think it's a really important thing that people know this, because just life's very depressing otherwise. If you're 21 and you're a guy and you think, well, is that it then? I mean, it's kind of how I felt on my 21st birthday, 22nd birthday. No, 20. I guess 22nd birthday. I kind of felt more optimistic, but 21, you think, oh fuck, this is only downhill from here. And no, I don't think like that anymore. I mean, on my 22nd birthday, I really had the sense of like, right, what's next? Let's start a YouTube channel. So yeah, youth isn't the epitome of life. Now number 3, this one's quite a tough one, but all your parents want what's best for you, but they don't always know what that is. So I remember having a conversation with someone a year or so ago, a bit longer than a year ago, and I remember her saying that ultimately your parents are still going to be motivated by your parents are still going to be motivated by their own inclinations. Like they're going to be act selfishly. They're going to think of themselves before they think of you. And that's something I completely disagree with. And I wonder what sort of life, what sort of thing went on there that she had that idea. You have bad parents, but who perhaps raise their children badly, who aren't competent, but the worst parent in the world still, I think, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I think still feels like their child's life is of some importance above themselves. Certainly the majority. I mean, certainly my parents do. That's the impression that I've gotten anyway, from my own observations, is even if you have bad parents who make you feel otherwise, and perhaps it's for the following reason that they make you feel otherwise. For the second part of this, even if they're shit parents and they make you feel otherwise, they will still ultimately want you to thrive in the way that's best, even if it's something they don't really realise themselves. So that's a lot of even ifs. But I hope you get what I'm getting at. The problem is that they don't always know what that is. So, it's a classic thing. Your parents really project onto you what they think is the best thing for you, but they'll generally just do was the best thing. They'll just think, well, what will be the best thing for me, and then try and project that onto you. And you shouldn't necessarily blame your parents doing that, because I think it's an instinct to a point. So a lot of, I mean, it's sort of a bit of a stereotype, but it's definitely, I definitely met a lot of people where it's true. Like if you got sort of Asian parents, or like Muslim parents, or so second generation immigrant parents, when parents where you're the second generation immigrant, they'll generally be like, oh, get good, be a doctor, be a lawyer, be an engineer, those three options. And a lot of people criticize this because it's a Japanese tiger mother, what if their son wants to be something else? But I think a lot of that is just motivated from the struggle of growing up in a country where you're at the sort of I don't mean this in a sort of in all regards, but in terms of the social sort of hierarchy, if you're an immigrant, you're usually there are exceptions, but a lot of Chinese and Middle Eastern people, we move to the UK for better opportunities. But that often means they're at the bottom of the hierarchy economically, because while the opportunities are better here, it's still rough. You still got to work tough jobs. Or you maybe like if there's a war or something, like a lot of Somali immigration because of the war. So the first generation will work quite tough jobs. Like Hamza Ahmed's like a good example of this. So his dad, he was born in Pakistan, moved to the UK. His dad was like an Uber driver, and just working really rough hours so he could put food on the table. And then when it came around to Hamza's turn, there's a video. If I find it, I'll link it, where Hamza said his parents wanted him to go to university and just get like a good job, like do the standard route. So he'd be like one step up the ladder, and he was very like, well, what? I don't want to be one step up the ladder. I want to be right at the top of the ladder, But it's a very when you sort of dismantle the whole stereotype like that, it makes a lot of sense as to why why this kind of thing happens, why a stereotype occurs. It's like because it just seems it seems sort of isn't that the sort of best thing for like an immigrant, or first generation immigrant? They they work really hard, so that their son can become like a good, outstanding job, well integrated into the country that they immigrated into. And the most obvious examples of that is like a doctor, a lawyer, or an engineer, or something like that. It's like that scene in The Godfather where Don Vito says, Michael, I had a dream of you being a Senator Corleone, but Michael's turned out to be the next Godfather, So anyway, my point is that moving on from that, sorry. So a lot of people will see this kind of occurrence and they'll think, that's the parents being overbearing. They're being it's like they're like there's a phrase, like I don't know if this is really I don't know if this is you still use, but like I know people say, they're like a Japanese tiger mother, or probably a bit racist to say that now, but it's certainly a very evocative image. But in reality, it's like it makes, when you think about it like that, you think about the struggle of immigration and struggling to raise your family. I'm not saying there isn't a degree of parents being overweening as well, but it's just what would naturally seems best for a lot of people. In that scenario that I described, and the same for me as well. the paths have gone down in sort of been encouraged to go down myself. Not like I'm not sort of by my parents. I don't think they've necessarily been right for me. But I understand that ultimately they're just doing what sort of makes sense to them. You know, and it feels as though they might be trying to sort of clip my wings. But no, it's just they've got a vision, and maybe it conflicts with my own, and yeah, you just kind of have to navigate your relationship with your parents with that. You know, I mean, I remember I've got a few videos here of me traveling around Kosovo, which is part of sort of former Yugoslavia, and a really fascinating thing to do. But my parents just didn't understand it at all. They were like, I remember my dad was like, "What? Why are you going? Like, Kosovo isn't even by the sea," is what he said. And I couldn't really explain it to them. And it made me sort of worried that, because you know, you look for your parents' approval, and I always thought, or maybe I shouldn't be going if they haven't got their approval. But actually, there was, it's been great content for the channel, and absolutely it was the right thing to do. So, so yeah, you got to navigate that in life.